Roar! Roar! There was movement at the station, for the word had gone around that the colt of Old Regret had got away and joined the wild bush horses. It was worth 1,000 pounds, so all the cracks had gathered for the fray. All the tried and trusted riders from stations near and far mustered at the homestead overnight, for the bushmen love hard riding where the wild bush horses are, and a stock horse snuffs a battle with delight. There was Harrison, who'd made his pile when Potter won the cup, an old man with a beard as white as snow. But few could ride beside him when his blood was fairly up. He would go wherever horse and man could go. Clancy of the Overflow came down to lend a hand. No finer horseman ever held a rein. No horse could throw him if his saddle girth would stand. He had learned to ride while droving on the plains. But one was there, a stripling, on a small and weedy beast, something like a racehorse undersized, with a touch of Timor pony, 3 parts thoroughbred at least, and such as are by mountain horsemen prized. It was hard and tough and wiry, just the sort that won't say die. There was courage in its quick, impatient tread, and it bore the badge of gameness in its bright and fiery eyes and the proud and lofty carriage of its head. But still, so small and weedy, one would doubt its power to stay. And the old man said, "That horse will never do. For a long and tiring gallop, lad, you'd better stay away. These hills are far too rough for such as you." So he waited, sad and wistful. Only Clancy stood his friend. "I think we ought to let him come," he said. "I warrant he'll be with us when he's needed at the end, for both his horse and he are mountain bred. He hails from Snowy River, up the Kosciuszko side, where the hills are twice as steep and twice as rough, where horse's hoof strikes firelight from the flintstones every stride, and the man that holds his own is good enough. And the Snowy River riders in the mountains make their home, where the rivers run those giant hills between. I've seen full many a horseman since I first began to roam, but nowhere else such horsemen have I seen." So he went. They spied the horses near a big mimosa clump. They moved away towards the mountain's brow. The old man gave his orders. "Boys, go at 'em from the jump. No use to try for fancy riding now. And Clancy, you must wheel them, try and wheel them to the right. Ride boldly, lads, and never fear the spills. For never yet was rider that could keep that mob in sight, if once they gained the shelter of those hills." So Clancy rode to wheel them. He was racing on the wing where the best and boldest riders take their place. And he raced his stock horse past them. Then he made the ranges ring with his stock whip as he met them face to face. And they halted for a moment while he swung that dreaded lash. But they saw their well-loved mountain full in view, and they charged beneath his stock whip with a sharp and sudden dash, and up into the mountain scrub they flew. Fast the horsemen followed, where the gorges, deep and black, resounded to the thunder of their tread, and their stock whips woke the echoes, and they fiercely answered back from the cliffs and crags that beetled overhead. Upward, ever upward, the wild horses held their way, where the mountain ash and Currajong grew wide, and at last the old man muttered, "We can bid this mob good day. No man can hold them down the other side." When they reached the mountain summit, even Clancy took a pull. It might well make the boldest hold their breath, for the wild hop scrub grew thickly, and the hidden ground was full of wombat holes, and any slip was death. But the man from Snowy River let his pony have its head. He whirled his stock whip round and gave a cheer, And then he raced him down the hillside like a torrent down its bed, while the others stood and watched in very fear. He sent the Flintstones flying, but the pony kept its feet. It cleared a fallen timber in its stride. And the man from Snowy River never shifted in his seat. It was grand to watch that mountain horseman ride. Through the stringy bark and sapling on the rough and broken ground, down the hillside at a racing pace he went. And he never drew the bridle till he landed safe and sound at the bottom of that terrible descent. He was right among the horses when they crossed the further ground. The watchers on the mountain, standing mute, saw him ply his stock whip fiercely. He was right among them still as he raced across the clearing in pursuit. Then they lost him for a moment where two mountain gullies met. On the ranges then a further glimpse reveals, on a dim and distant hillside, the wild horses running yet, with the man from Snowy River at their heels. He ran them single-handed till their sides were white with foam. He followed like a bloodhound on their track, till they halted, cowed and beaten, and he turned their head for home, and alone and unassisted brought them back. But his hardy mountain pony, it could scarcely raise a trot. It was blood from hip to shoulder from the spur, but its pluck was still undaunted, and its courage fiery hot, for never yet was a mountain horse a cur. Now up at Kosciuszko, where the pine-clad ridges raise their rough and rugged battlements on high, where the air is clear as crystal, and white stars fairly blaze at midnight in the cold and frosty sky, and where along the overflow the reed beds sweep and sway to the breezes, and the rolling hills are wide, the man from Snowy River is a household word today, and stockmen tell the story of his ride.